What do these rings of power, or what did they actually do for their masters? So we talked about previously what the powers of the elven rings, but now let's move on to the dwarven rings. What did they do for their masters?
Well, they were what they actually did and what they were intended to do is not the same answer, I suppose. So obviously,
I mean powers and like that kind of way, or
yeah. Well,
like we've got the fire, the ring of fire, and we've got like the ring of water and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, well, the ones that were made, the 16 that were made, where Sauron was involved, and by Celebrimbor. Like Celebrimbor made the 3 elven rings on his own, and he kind of did his own thing with them. But the 16 that were made all together, that's the 9 for the men and 7 for the dwarves, they were all made at the same time, and Sauron was kind of overlooking the whole thing. And they were all kind of, I don't know if we get too much information about these specific powers, but basically just to make the wearer more powerful. And the result that it ended up having was to kind of bring out the natural powers of what those species actually had. So in terms of dwarves, they became just like really good at mining, and they almost kind of became luckier as well in their mining, and they always happened to find these incredible treasure hoards. And another effect that it had was just kind of it increased a lot of their different sort of desires and things, so they became a lot greedier as well. Now I don't know if you're looking for the result or what was initially supposed to be.
You're perfect. Keep going.
I'm out about
yeah, I thought that might have been the end of your rant there.
Well, I lost my train of thought, so I can't even remember what I said. You'll have to read it back to me.
Yeah, no, well, you're perfectly right. Like, unlike the elven rings, they don't have those specific powers built in. Well, not that we know of, and unlike the 3 elven rings previously discussed, there isn't that much detail on the magic of the rings. They actually don't even have individual names, names that we know of. Now there is one that we'll discuss that is given a name, I suppose, but it's not like something fancy like Nenya, Narya, or Vilya. But and you're also absolutely right that they only magnified the wearer's already natural skills and traits, so it made the dwarves more proud, greedier. And yeah, I liked how you mentioned that they made them luckier, and that is absolutely true. They were kind of just like blessed to find treasure more easily, and it also just made them kind of more narrow-minded than they already were, so they're buried deeper to find newer treasures. But the interesting thing is it didn't turn the dwarves invisible or give them unnatural long life, which eventually ended in them turning into raids. So this was kind of I don't know, maybe Sauron didn't work as hard as he could on the magic, and he kind of failed a little bit in that regard.
I think maybe I think they say that I don't think Sauron expected them to be such hardy folk, basically, and to be able to resist the powers as well as they did. Obviously, the dwarves are just hardier, for want of a better word, than the race of men. So men were more susceptible to the powers of the rings, whereas the dwarves actually just kind of, got on with it. I suppose Sauron was like, these lads would be easy to corrupt. Yeah. So in the end, it was quite hard for him to corrupt them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hardier is what the word that is mentioned, and resilient as well.
Laurel and hardier.
So why the dwarves accepted the rings, we do not actually know, but we can assume that their lust for gold and jewels was enough for them to want these gifts, because as we know, the elves were suspicious of Sauron, but and they kind of hid their rings and they didn't wear them. But we know that the elves and the dwarves, for the most part, didn't have a great relationship, so they probably weren't going to say, "Hey, by the way, there's some tainted rings going around, or they're laced with acid, so don't put them on and don't accept them." But we don't really know why they
spots. Don't take them.
Yeah, exactly.